In this document, I want to show you how we created some of these buttons and make our own button out of shapes built into Photoshop. Before I dig too deeply, I want to colorize elements of my design. And here's what I mean. I'm going to double-click on Adjustments to collapse it, and this is a placed Illustrator file, a .ai that's a smart object. If I right-click on that layer in this file to make editing easier for me, I've been making vectors or smart objects green. If I select Products and shift-click on Cart and right-click, I've been making all type layers orange. So if you expand the top image, you could see orange for type, and I've been using blue for photographic information. In fact, this top line I think is a vector shape. I could tell by the icons, so these two should really be green. Now this doesn't do anything to the actual layer, it's just a visual indicator for me, the designer. So here's pixel data, here's an adjustment layer, so they are fine. If this click it. This is create a new, I call it a folder because it's a folder icon. Top nav or navigation. I'll select the Pluralist logo, shift-click on Cart, and pop them in there. And when I click on the word Cart, I activated that layer so that the new shape I build will go right on top of that. I'll use my zoom tool and zoom into Cart. I'm at 100%. And I will switch to a Custom Shape tool. And in the Custom Shape tool, if you look at your options bar across the top of your screen, there isn't a little shopping cart icon built into Photoshop. But I could pull one over from Illustrator, or I could access all of the built-in shapes. So many people don't know there are tons that are included with your Photoshop installation. So if I click this little gear icon, and I could choose just categories, but if I don't remember where it is, web would probably be where it is. I'll just choose all. And I always say append to add to the end. So I'll hit append. And I can make this nice and tall and wide. Look at this large variety of shapes that I have to make buttons out of. And here is a cart. I think that's the only included cart. I could edit the shape, but I'm happy with that. So if I choose the shopping cart, I often click this area to make a drop-down or fly-out menu go away without marking the image. Before I paint in the cart, I also want to choose my brand identity colors. So in swatches, I will hit the panel menu and replace the built-in swatches with my Pluralist swatches. And this is an Adobe Swatch Exchange file. I can use this in InDesign, I can use it in Photoshop, I can use it in Illustrator. So it's a global swatch file that I pull in whenever I'm doing projects for the Pluralist in any of those applications. So Creative Suite allows for exchange of swatches amongst the Creative Cloud. So I've got my cart. If I don't hold down Shift, it really distorts. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I could go left or right, but I'll just guesstimate the size. It's been drawn. It's got a fill color of black, but I want to use one of the Pluralist lighter grays, so I will choose dark gray. In fact, I can choose Fill and select Pluralist dark gray. And often to see this, I have to go to my Move tool. Or I could use my Path Selection tool. It's hard to tell what's going on when you've got the Path Selection tool activated because the little points for the shape are black, so it looks like it's filled with black, but it's not really. And I'll scoot this over, and if I want to size it, I'll use Edit, Free Transform, or I tend to hit Control-T on Windows, Command-T on the Mac. I'm holding down Shift to keep it proportional and pressing Return or Enter to finish the scale. But I find it easier to see what's going on on the Move tool, and I can click away to see the cart and just nudge with my up, down, left, or right arrow until I'm happy with the position and size. So to be a good Photoshop user, I'm going to name this Cart Icon, and I will color it with a right click and choose green. And now it's all part of my top navigation, so if I collapsed top navigation and moved any object, they all move as a unit when they are in a group. So very handy. But if I wanted to continue moving the cart, I would expand the group, select the cart icon, and now nudge. Or Command T or Control T to scale down, Return or Enter to do the scale, and I love just my arrow keys to nudge. So we've created a web button. With the Shape tools, you have a wide variety of buttons and objects available and built in for free to Photoshop. And I often choose all before I begin any project. You could also draw your own shapes with the Pen tool in Photoshop, or create them in Illustrator and bring them in. So this has been creating web buttons, creating folder groups, which are technically just called new groups, but I call them folders for organizing, and colorizing your layers. I shouldn't leave you without this last tip. This is something new to Photoshop CC. In Photoshop CS6, they added the ability to sort by kind, or search by name, or search by an effect that's applied. And if you search by something and you want to clear it out, in Photoshop CC, I could just clear out what it's doing, select a layer again, and individual layers can be filtered by categories. So if I turn Search by Effect back on and go back to Kind, for Kind, I could choose All Pixel Layers. And I'll see any that I might have missed colorizing blue. All Effect Layers, All Type Layers. And it's showing multiple ones, so you turn them off or on to filter down. And I missed one type layer called Advert, colorizing it, so I'll go ahead and colorize that orange now. Again, the colors are for my own use, but they are immensely helpful. If you pass your files on to other people, please do kind things and name your layers and use the colors to indicate what they are, because sometimes if you have more than 20 layers, finding by name or even the icon is difficult. The color is a quick visual indicator. So I'll turn that off, but you could also turn off the filter by turning this little notch on or off.